Dear students, greetings for the day. Today we will discuss about silk fiber. Silk is one of the most important textile materials and highly valued as a luxurious and prestige fiber for its rarity, smoothness, gloss and bright colors. It is a natural animal fiber, usually coming from the moth larva Bombyx mori, extruded from its body in one continuous strand. Silk, one of the oldest fibers known to man, originated in China 10,000 years ago. According to a Chinese legend, it was the queen of the Yellow Emperor who first accidentally discovered silk fiber. The legend indicates that when the queen was sitting under a mulberry tree having a cup of tea, a cocoon fell into her cup, and when she tried to remove it she found it unraveling into a white thin lustrous thread. Thus the production of silk began with nearly 3,000 years of monopoly. Silk fabric was reserved only for the royalty and was even considered more precious than gold. Common man was prohibited from wearing it. Silk industry developed by 14th BC in China, and for more than 2,000 years they maintained it as a secret to themselves. In 200 BC, when people migrated from China to Korea, they smuggled the secret of silk production with them, and that was how the secret spread throughout Asia. Silk is universally accepted as luxury fiber with soft sheen, soft touch, light in weight, and so it is called as Queen of Fibers the world over. It has properties that are not possessed by any other fiber. This luxurious, smooth beauty of silk was probably responsible for the development of fiber industry. China is the first country to produce the silk in large quantities, followed by India ranking second in production. India is mostly exporting to countries like the USA and European countries. The cultivation of silkworms for the purpose of producing silk filament is termed as sericulture. The largest quantity of silk comes from sericulture, where silkworms are domesticated under controlled growth conditions. Whether domesticated or wild variety, all silkworms undergoes 4 basic stages of development. They are: laying of eggs by the silk moth, hatching of eggs into caterpillars that feed on mulberry leaves, spinning of cocoon by the caterpillar, emergence of moth from the cocoon. Each of the stages require good control conditions for a better quality of fiber and yield. Selected moths lay from 400 to 600 eggs of the size of pinhead on prepared cards. Under mildly warm conditions, eggs are hatched within 30 days. These tiny larvae are about 1/4 inch in length, which need to be fed with shredded mulberry leaves about 5 times a day. The worms grow for a month, shedding its skin called molting 4 times. These larvae feed voraciously upon the mulberry leaves and grow very quickly. They stop feeding before molting takes place. The maturity is achieved in about 45 days since the time of hatching, and the matured caterpillar now measures 7-10 cms. in length and 10,000 times heavier than when they hatched. These matured caterpillars stop feeding and retains a pinkish hue and becomes transparent. The continuous reeling of its head is an indication that it is ready for spinning its cocoon. They are now transferred onto spinning trays. The full-grown caterpillar develops a pair of silk glands. From two silk glands located in the lower jaw of the worm, it extrudes a sticky substance through a very narrow pore. The extrusion is silk filament in the form of two very thin fibers called brins, the fibrone, and a gummy material, the sericin. This hardens after exposure to outside atmosphere, and thus two very fine silk filaments are produced by each silkworm. The silkworm spins its head in the figure 8, wrapping its body, forming a pupal case or cocoon. This process continues for 3-4 days, at the end of which the caterpillar is enclosed within a thick, somewhat hard, oval, whitish or yellowish cocoon. The size of the cocoon is about the size of peanut shell. Within 15 days the caterpillar is transformed into a brownish pupa or chrysalis, and the pupa is metamorphosed into young adult moth in about 12-15 days. Only the selected moths are permitted to breed and complete the cycle. If the cocoons are left, the moth emerges out by dissolving the silk on the top of the cocoon. They are terminated at the stage after completing spinning of cocoon. Therefore, the life cycle of the month is terminated at this point by suffocating the chrysalis through heating the cocoons. The process of killing pupal inside cocoon is termed as stifling. Good-sized cocoon 8-10 days old are selected for further processing. Stifling is done by subjecting cocoon to hot water, steam, dry heat, sun exposure or fumigation. The silk factory is termed as filature. Here the cocoons are sorted as per color, size, shape and texture, and silk is unwound from cocoons and collected as skeins. Cocoons are generally range from white or yellow to grayish, depending on the source and the type of food consumed during the worm stage. The process of removing the threads from cocoon is called reeling. The cocoons are cooked first in hot water at 95-97 oC for 10-15 minutes to soften the adhesion of silk threads among themselves. During this period they are continuously stirred with a rod. Due to this, their outer portion is loosened and removed in the form of long tapes, and the end of the continuous filament is found. This process is called cooking. Raw silk consists of 80% fibrone, protein, and 20% of sericin, gum. At this stage only 1% of the gum is removed, because this silk gum is a needed protection during the further handling of the delicate filament. As two filaments that come out of each cocoon are too fine for commercial use, filaments from 3-10 cocoons are generally reeled together. Twisting of silk strands together is termed as silk throwing, which comes from an Anglo-Saxon word thrown meaning to twist, and the resulting yarn is thrown yarn. If required, these yarns are doubled and twisted in opposite direction with another doubled yarn to produce different effects. The thread thus reeled forms the raw silk of commerce. The usable length filament may range from 300-600 meters. About 1 kilogram of raw silk is obtained from nearly 55,000 cocoons. Several skeins of silk weighing 5,100 grams each are combined into a bundle called a book, which in turn weighs 5-10 pounds. The size or the fineness of continuous silk filament or yarn is based on a direct system of weight known as denier. A denier represents the weight in grams of yarn of 9,000 yards. The lesser the denier, the finer the silk. Silk filament contains 80% of protein and 20% of sericin. It is not usually removed until after the cloth is woven, because it serves as a warp sizing and protects the yarns from mechanical injury during weaving process. After weaving, gum present on the surface of the filament needs to be removed in order to bring out the natural luster of silk and to improve the dyeability. Degumming is also done to yarn before finishing with dyes. Degumming is carried out by boiling silk yarn or fabric in a hot soap bath, which will remove the sericin and other impurities but leave the silk unharmed. This process is called boiled off. After removing the gum, silk looks creamy white in color, beautifully lustrous and luxuriously soft. Around 25% of raw silk weight is lost during this operation. If sericin is present in the fabric, it increases the tendency for the silk to give water spot marks. Silk is priced based on the weight of material. Higher the weight, the costlier it is. As degumming process reduces its weight, to compensate the loss, some weight is artificially added to the material by chemical means. This finishing process called weighting. Nearly 3 to 4 times weight is added by this method. Metallic salts such as stannous chloride are used for weighting of colored silk. It is done when dyeing process is carried out. It is followed by treatment with sodium phosphate. This is an accepted practice in silk industry as weighting imparts firmness and body to silk fabrics. Black silks are heavily weighted up to 15% than other colored silk that are weighed up to 10%. This is one of the reasons for less durability of black silks over the colored silks. Generally, weighting causes the fabric to lose its strength as soon as the weighting is applied. Sunlight also attacks weighted silk and can cause silk to fall to pieces. All silk fabrics that have more than 10% weighting must be labeled as weighted silk. India produces all 4 varieties of natural silks, viz., mulberry silk, tazar silk, mugo silk and eri silk. Wild silk, silk produced by moths of species other than Bombyx mori, is called wild silk. Tazar, eri and mugo silk are non-mulberry silks which are wild silks and also known as Vanya silks. Eri silk, also known as Endi or Erandi, this silk is produced by the eri silkworm, Philosamia ricini, which feed mainly on castor. Cocoons are open-ended and so spun yarn is taken from it. Tazar silk is produced by tazar silkworms, Anthera eamylata, that feed mainly on the leaves of asan, arjun and oak. Mugo silk, the pride of India, mugo silk is known for its natural shimmering golden color. It is produced by the mugo silkworms, Anthera eosimmensis, which feed on sm and swallow. It is the most expensive silks. Waste silk or silk noil, short ends of textural spun yarns or in blends with cotton or wool. Sometimes called waste silk. Dupion silk. When 2 silkworms spin together one cocoon, the filament gets interlocked. The yarn is uneven, irregular and larger than regular filaments. Continuous filament cannot be obtained from them. Raw silk that has not undergone any degumming and contains sericin. Staple or spun silk yarns made from short fibers taken from pierced cocoons. It is also produced from the inner portions of the cocoon. Khadi silk, the silk that is hand-spun and hand-woven. The yarn, fabrics show irregularity and thick and thin places. Ahimsa silk obtained from cocoons which are not stifled to suffocate/kill the chrysalis. Physical properties: the natural color of cultivated silk of off-white to cream, whereas wild silk is brown. Strength: silk is the strongest natural fiber due to its continuous length. It has a tenacity of 2.4 to 5.1 grams per denier. The degree of fiber orientation and hydrogen bonding accounts for its good strength. The strength of the spun silk yarn depends on the length of the silk staple used in its manufacture. The durability of fabric depends on the use of ply, double yarns and compactness of construction. Structure: it is a solid fiber with long and fine filaments. They frequently measure about 1,000 to 1,300 yards in length and can be as long as 300 yards. The width of the silk is from 9 to 11 microns. Cultivated silk is smooth, cylindrical and generally uniform in thickness, like glass rods. The filaments are triangular in cross-section, with rounded corners. Wild silk fiber is very regular and resembles flattened, wavy ribbons with longitudinal markings. Luster. The luster of the gummed silk is high but not as bright as manufactured fibers because they are roughly triangular shape, which changes the light reflection. Elasticity. It is an elastic fiber and its elasticity varies, as it is a natural fiber. Silk fiber may be stretched from 1/7 to 1/5 its original length before breaking. It returns to its original size gradually and loses little of its elasticity. The elongation at break is half of that of wool. Abrasion resistance. Silk has moderate abrasion resistance. Its smooth surface and wedge shape helps in resisting the abrasion. Resilience. They are considered having modern resiliency. Silk retains their shape and resists wrinkling rather well. This is more in fabrics made from pure silk rather than spun silk or weight silk. Also, fabrics made from short staple have less resiliency drapability. Silk has a pliability and suppleness that, aided by its elasticity and resilience, give it excellent drapability. Density. Silk fiber has a specific gravity or density of 1.64 grams/cubic centimeter. It is possible to make lightweight fabrics without sacrificing the strength. Absorbency. The good absorptive property of silk also contributes to its comfort and warmer atmosphere. Silk generally absorbs about 11% of its weight in moisture, which makes silk easy in dyeing and printing. Silk fiber can generally absorb about 11% of its weight in moisture, but the range varies from 10% to as much as 30%. This is also a major factor in silk's ability to be printed and dyed easily. Dimensional stability. Silk fabrics retain their shape very well as the shrinkage in washing is found to be minimum. Crepe fabrics shrink more during laundering but can be restored back with careful steaming. Thermal properties. Being a protein fiber, silk has a lower thermal conductivity than cellulosic fibers. However, it is possible to make comfortable fabrics by carefully choosing suitable fabric construction. Silk smolders while approaching flame. It burns slowly in flame, giving a hair-burn smell, and it does not support combustion. Therefore, it is self-extinguishing, leaving a crushable bead. Silk scorches if ironing temperature exceeds 150 oC. Effect of heat. Silk is somewhat sensitive to heat. It will begin to decompose at 3300 F. Therefore, it should be ironed while damp with a warm iron. White silk is heated with a warm iron. If white silk is heated at 2310 F for 15 minutes, it begins to turn yellow. Chemical properties. Effect of alkali. Silk is not as sensitive as wool is to alkali. It may be affected in concentrations and high temperatures. Cold concentrated solutions of alkali such as soda or caustic potash have slight action on silk. Heated solution dissolves silk. Effect of acids. Concentrated mineral acids dissolve silk faster than wool. Organic acids do not harm them. Medium concentrated of HCl will dissolve silk, and moderate concentrated of other mineral acids cause fiber concentration and shrinkage. Reaction to bleach. Strong bleaches containing sodium hypochlorite will deteriorate silk. Mild bleaches like sodium perborate and hydrogen peroxide may be used with normal caution. Cleanliness and washability. Silk is a hygienic material because its smooth surface does not attract dirt. It can also be easily cleaned using mild soaps and in dry cleaning. Shrinkage. Due to filament in length, smooth surface silk have normal shrinkage which can be easily restored by ironing at moderate heat and damp conditions. Effective light, continuous exposure to light weakens silk faster than other cotton or wool. Drying in shade is recommended. Raw silk is more resistant to light than begum silk. Resistance to mildew. Silk will not affect by mildew unless left for some time in damp state or under the extreme conditions of tropical dampness. Resistance to insects. In blends of wool and silk, the beetles and larvae of moths may affect it, which affects the wool. Resistance to perspiration. Silk fabrics are damaged by perspiration if left in the garment. The silk itself deteriorates and the color is affected, causing staining. Silk blends. Silk and cotton, silk and polyester, silk and linen, silk and wool etc. Finishes given to silk: beguming, whitening, calendering, siring, for body and luster, embossing, singeing, water repellency and stiffening. Silk mark. A quality assurance label. Silk mark is being promoted by Silk Mark Organization of India, SMOI, a registered society under Karnataka Society Act 1960. SMOI is an initiative of Central Silk Board, Ministry of Textiles and Government of India. Silk Mark provides a quality assurance label on the silk products which indicates that the product is made only from pure silk. Thus it protects the interests of the end users of silk products, also benefiting the stakeholders. This is a generic promotion scheme for silk. Only an authorized user of Silk Mark can use the label on their products. Giving an assurance of pure silk, the label protects and promotes silk. The Silk Mark labels are in the form of paper hang tag and sew in label. These are affixed only on pure silk products by the authorized users of Silk Mark. Each label has a hologram and a unique number printed on it which helps the consumers to trace the product to its authorized user. Further, a new labeling system has been developed, Fusion Label, which gets fused onto the fabric. This fusion label is tamper-proof and is an important initiative by Silk Mark to protect the silk consumers. The label has hidden security features in order to ensure that it is not duplicated. Majority of silk fibers produced are utilized in apparel. For many centuries, silk was synonym with garment used on festivals and other traditional occasions. Its use is also seen in home furnishings because of its appearance and cost. Fabrics from sheer to heavy weight of brocades can be produced. Due to its absorbency, it is highly appreciated in warm wear. Clothes in which silk fibers are combined with other natural and synthetic fibers are in great demand not only in India but also in foreign countries. Seeing this demand, many textile industries are manufacturing clothes like terry silk, cot silk etc. Its durability extends its use to sportswear and other contemporary applications. In furnishings, silk is often blended with other fibers to add a soft luster to the furnishing fabric. Quilts, bed covers, cushions, table_XO02_ and curtains generally from merino or spun silk. Silk blends are often used in window treatment and upholstery fabrics. Occasionally, beautiful and expensive handmade rugs will be made of silk. Knitted garments such as vests, gloves, socks, stockings. Besides silk being used as garments, it is also used in other industries and for military purposes. It is used in the manufacture of fishing fibers, parachutes, cartridge bags, insulation coils for telephones and wireless receivers, tires of racing cars, filter clothes for flour mills, and in medical dressings and suture materials.